The death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia leaves President Obama faced with seeking a replacement to fill his seat on the highest court. Last night, the president said a nomination was bigger than any one party. With a half dozen or more major cases before the court, the president says he plans to fulfill his constitutional responsibility to nominate a successor in due time. This being a presidential election year, many Republicans are arguing that Scalia's replacement should be filled by the next president. Democrat Hillary Clinton fired back, saying Republicans asking for the seat to remain vacant until we have a new president is a, quote, dishonor to our Constitution. About 3 years ago, Scalia sat down with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. Wallace asked if he ever thought about who would replace him on the court.
But I mean, does it go through your mind, if I retire, I'd like to see, since you talk about Republicans appointing one kind of justice and Democrats another, that you would want somebody who would adhere to your view as in your book, reading law?
I would not like to be replaced by someone who immediately sets about undoing everything that I've tried to do for 25 years, 26 years. Sure. But I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you that. Unless you think I'm a fool.
With the death of Scalia, the Supreme Court is losing its swing vote. This means that rulings in critical matters such as the death penalty, abortion, and affirmative action could be left to a split 4-4 vote. So what will the Senate do with President Obama's nomination, and how will it impact those key decisions? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can weigh in on Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26for Life. Joining us live in the newsroom is our panel led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico. Jackie Bally is there too, president of Bally Projects, a company that provides public affairs and planning services. She's often involved with strategy for Republican candidates. We also have Mustafa Tamiz, founder of Outreach Strategists. He consults on media and public affairs to businesses and nonprofits, and he's often involved with strategy for Democratic candidates. Good morning to all of you again.
Good morning.
So is there any chance that the president could successfully appoint someone?
There is, as a matter of fact. You know, the Senate, and it didn't take Mitch McConnell very long to announce that the president should wait. Every Republican candidate saying that he should wait. He's not going to wait. He has a constitutional obligation to announce a successor for Justice Scalia, so he's going to do it. And there is a way to do it. For instance, Justice Greg Costa on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has twice been confirmed by the United States Senate, twice been approved by both senators from the state of Texas. And if he appointed him, he's a great judge and a good guy. And because he's been approved twice by this Senate, he should pass confirmation. So there is a way for the president to do it and get somebody in. This waiting is going to cause a big problem for the U.S. Senate. I mean, for the Supreme Court, because a 4-4 decision, which is what this leaves, puts into play things like public unions, which we're about to lose on a 5-4 decision. That will leave that to stand. Religious affiliates are now not going to be exempted from Obamacare. They were going to win on a 5-4 decision. States will get to continue using total population rather than voting population in redistricting, because that will be a 4-4 decision. And all of that, Mustafa, a 4-4 decision means the lower court decision stands. A 4-4 tie in the United States Supreme Court means that the lower court decision stands. We can't wait too long.
Well, that's the thing. I think we've politicized everything, especially the Supreme Court in the last decade. President Obama has been elected twice. He's been the president of the United States for 7 years. For some reason, the Republicans don't ever want to acknowledge that. It is the right of the president to appoint a Supreme Court justice. It is the job of the Senate to confirm it. And that confirmation has to happen. And the fact that people are coming out, within hours of Justice Scalia's death, the very first statement was made by the Republican presidential nominees was that we can't have Obama appoint this.
I think it was Mitch McConnell, actually.
All of them came out with that statement, and I think it's sad. I think that they need to do their job.
There is something to the argument that when the Republicans say let the people decide, well, they did decide, didn't they, when they elected President Obama?
Well, and you also saw Justice Scalia. He said that he doesn't want everything that he's worked so hard for the last 26 years to be undone. And the fear of Republicans, and by the way, Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton also came out with a statement very quickly, but the fear of Republicans is that the president will nominate someone who's polar opposite of our constitutional conservative Scalia. He actually reintroduced the thought of originalism, which meant that he believed in the Constitution in the way it was written, originally written. He was one of the most conservative people we had on the court. And so the
no argument there.
The fact that our president is extremely liberal, the fear of many, including Democrats, because they are happy about this, is that he would appoint someone polar opposite to Scalia and literally what you saw in the interview undo everything he's done for the last 26 years.
Go ahead.
Well, he was a strict constitutionalist, right? A strict constitutionalist would say that the job of any president is to appoint a Supreme Court justice and the job of the Senate is to confirm it. That's what a strict constitutionalist would have said. And Justice Scalia, for all the things I disagree with him, had good, strong relationships with, justice on the other side.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, let's take a look at what some of the candidates are saying. Their reaction was quick to be posted on Twitter yesterday. Donald Trump says the totally unexpected loss of Justice Scalia is a massive setback for the conservative movement and our country. Ted Cruz says Scalia was an American hero. We owe it to him and the nation for the Senate to ensure that the next president names his replacement. Senator Sanders says his thoughts and prayers are with the family and colleagues. And then Hillary Clinton says it's outrageous that Republicans have already pledged to block any Supreme Court replacement that President Obama nominates.
And the sad thing to me is that here's a man who, whether you agree with his politics or not, whether you agree with his decisions or not, that his death is being politicized before his body has even cooled. And I think that's a shame. I think it's a shame for our country, and I think it's a shame for our Supreme Court that we're doing this. The thing about Justice Scalia, and you're right, he was very conservative. But what about a judge like Judge Costa, who has been twice appointed by President Obama, twice approved by Ted Cruz, and twice approved by this United States Senate? Why won't they approve him?
Well, first of all, we don't know if the president's going to appoint him or nominate him. I mean, the president has been playing politics as well. We saw the Keystone Pipeline when both parties were in support of something that was going to be very good for the country, and because the Republican Party drove it, he vetoed it. So who knows who the president is going to nominate? Mitch McConnell is the person responsible for putting things on the agenda and setting the tone of what we debate and what we look at. So once the president makes his nomination, we'll see if it's going to be a conservative like Scalia or if it's going to be someone from the school of thought of liberalism like he is. More than likely, based on the politics that the president has been playing, it's not going to be conservative like Scalia.
If the president appoints someone like Costa, who's already been approved twice, why would the Senate not vote on that?
Well, because they're playing politics and they're not doing their job. You know, funny thing, United States Congress not doing their job once again. United States Senate being obstructionist about moving our country forward.